Public schools face cash crunch ahead of national exams. Secondary school head teachers are worried that they may not have enough time to prepare for candidates for this year's national exams because of the Ministry of Education's failure to release funds meant for third term. Now, the exams are scheduled to begin next month, with KCSE set from October 21st to the 27th of November. Quite something that must be obviously quite scary for parents as they wake up this morning. Honorable Ledama, let me begin with you. Your thoughts on this?
I think this is a crisis that we're facing, and we must admit to the fact that the National Assembly is the one which is failing this nation, because you cannot act as an extension of the executive. This delay is as a result of our inability in Parliament to agree to be able to pass the Division of Revenue Bill.
You directly connect?
Directly, because at first people thought that it's only county governments which are going to suffer, but there's no way you can appropriate money that you've not been given. So Parliament divide money between the two levels of government, and the national government is where they have the constitutional responsibility to be able to fund schools. So until we are able to resolve this matter, and I'm hoping that today when we resume the mediation, these are some of the things that we can be able to put into perspective, because it is now beginning to bite really hard. At first everybody thought it is the county government that will suffer, but in a nutshell, everyone is suffering.
Okay, so you actually see that the Ministry of Education's failure to release funds is linked with division of revenue?
Absolutely. Because when you look at the provision of the law,
yes,
Parliament, sort of like divide money between the two levels of government, and the National Assembly went ahead and passed an Appropriation Act. So ask yourself, if the money has not been divided, what are you appropriating? How can you spend money that you do not have? So it is beginning to be painful and realistic that until we follow the due process of the law, until we go through the Division of Revenue, really the ministry will not have any money to be able to appropriate. Because when you have budget estimates and you don't have the money to be able to fund those budgets, then where on earth are you going to get the money from? So I think it behooves us as leaders now to be realistic, in terms of really these budget estimates, in terms of even the appropriation acts that we have. I'm one of those people who believe that, like the US, where there are about 12 appropriations acts, we should not be limited to one appropriation act, because once you have one appropriation act, then there's a total government shutdown. So I think as we talk about amending the Constitution and maybe even amending the PFM Act, we should be able to come up with different appropriations acts so that there's those mandatory spendings that will not be affected in the event that we in Parliament face a stalemate. One of the big mischief which the National Assembly is actually coming up with is really trying to violate the Constitution by amending the Public Finance Management Act to remove where in the Act it says Parliament, and that's what it says in the Constitution, and substituting it with National Assembly, which means that they are trying to say the Senate does not have a role. So you cannot use a legislation to be able to to violate the Constitution. Okay. The Constitution supersedes any act of Parliament. Yes.
All right, Honorable Kipruto Kiro, let me rope you into the conversation. How will this affect the ability of us to have a successful new year, not new year rather, but CBC, the transition of the CBC that we're moving from 844. And the reason why I ask this is because the exams are coming around the corner. We have the Kenya Early Years Assessment, which will be happening next month. The grade 3 will be tested on all that, and already CS Magoha has said that he's warned rather of any exam cheating. So how will this sort of influence the very first exams that we're seeing coming out from this new curriculum?
Well, it will affect all facets of our economy and all facets of expenditure in terms of government revenue flow. This is squarely a leadership problem. I do want to concur with the senator here, but at the same time say we should lift beyond the two houses. The president as the leader of the majority party in the National Assembly and in the Senate should provide the leadership in terms of guiding the two houses so that they speak with one language. Number two, it is also important that the country is experiencing a lot of financial crunch, including lack of requisite revenue collection, which is a product of a system that is almost clogged up. where DCI is almost becoming the de facto prefect of all ministries and all departments of government, such that even officers cannot move resources from one component to the other for fear of being reprimanded or being arrested. This is something that we must also check. I'm made to understand even some of the embassies, they have been given exchequer issues. Well, exchequer issue means that you are given the leeway to spend without money. So once you give an exchequer issue without money, you are effectively saying government is giving a bouncing check, which is an illegality in a leadership dimension. So it is bigger than just disagreement between the two houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. It is a bigger problem that we as Kenyans must hold to account, the chief executive and the entire government, so as to make sure that they do the right thing for the people of Kenya.
They do the right thing for the people of Kenya.